So let's title this video 4, and this is sexual motivation. So, sexual motivation, we've talked a lot about the drive reduction theory and the instinctual theory. Sexual motivation is in a sense, nature's clever way of making people procreate, enabling our species to survive. So, it is instinctual, and it also is a drive that we experience with attention. There is some physiological influence that happens with our body, but there's also psychological influence and things that we experience with our mind and our environment that influence sexual motivation. So, first, let's talk about what happens physically within your body. Okay, this was research that was done on sexual motivation. Let's take us back to 1960. Sexual motivation was research and it made headlines. William Masters and Virginia Johnson were the two people that developed one of the first experiments that actually looked at the body in response to what happens when sexual intercourse takes place. 382 females were part of the experiment and 313 males. They filmed their sexual activity over a series of months, experiencing and watching over 10,000 cycles of sexual intercourse. They found that through this experimentation, humans have several response cycles with 4 stages they experience. They came up with what is known as the sexual response cycle. It is 4 stages of sexual responding. They are excitement, the plateau, the orgasm, and resolution. What they also found through this experimentation and further brain research, more currently they've uncovered, this is new researchers, orgasms trigger similar neural activity in our brains and ignite certain areas that are similar among species, indicating that the experience of an orgasm may be similar for males, that's supposed to be males, and females. Okay, and I also drew or included what the sexual response cycle kind of looks like, and we're going to walk through it here. So, Masters and Johnson published this in 1966. They described the human sexual response cycle as following, and you do need to know the phases. So, make sure you pause this and write down what the phase name is and the physiological response to the body. So, the first one is excitement. The excitement stage is when the genitals become engorged with blood. Females, the vagina also expands and secretes lubrication, and males, the penis enlarges. The plateau phase, excitement peaks, and breathing, your pulse, and your blood pressure rates continue to rise. For the males, the penis becomes fully engorged with some fluids containing sperm, which are released at the tip. For females, the vaginal secretion continues to increase. Then there's the orgasmic state. They found that there are contractions that occur all over the body. You're increasing in breathing and pulse and blood pressure, and there is a sexual release. For a woman's arousal and orgasm facilitate conception by positioning the uterus to receive sperm and draw in sperm. So it's actually where it's drawing in sperm, so the sperm and the egg can fertilize. The resolution time period is when the engorged genitals release the blood, flowing it back to the body. The parasympathetic nervous system would go into gear. You'd calm down. The males and females go through what is known as the refractory period, which is where you're incapable of experiencing another orgasm, which is known as the resting period after an orgasm. Women's refractory period are much shorter than males. Why it may explain that a male may have to wait several hours to a day before experiencing another orgasm, and other women's can experiencing them potentially right after their first orgasm. So there are also some things that happen with your body that may trigger sexual behavior. So sex hormones affect not only the development of the sexual characteristics, primary and secondary, but it also can activate sexual behavior. So in males, the testes create your testosterone, and you also have small levels of estrogen. Females, the ovaries and the adrenal glands create estrogen, but you also have small amounts of testosterone. So their males aren't the only people that have testosterone in their body. So let's refer to this as from the development unit. Sex refers strictly to your biological traits that make you male and female. Okay. And we talked about gender as the social construction. So I'm just talking about sex in terms of your biological traits at this point in time, your testicles and your ovaries. Testosterone. Testosterone is something that's dominant in males. However, both males and females have it. The additional testosterone in males help stimulate the growth in the male sex organs and the fetus. It also helps with the development of the male sex characteristics during puberty. Estrogen is known as often the female hormone. Estrogen is a sex hormone which is secreted in greater amounts in females than males and contributes to the sex characteristics. In non-human females, estrogen levels during the peak of ovulation actually promote sexual receptivity. So let's talk about how hormones can influence sexual activity. In males, levels of testosterone they find remain rarely consistent in males. So it's difficult to manipulate and activate sexual behavior and see if high levels or low levels can impact it because pretty much males stay consistent. Females, however, in animals and in humans, they found that they're more sexually active during high levels of when estrogen is released. This is actually signaling for the body that ovulation is about to take place. And when you're ovulating, you're releasing an egg, which then would signal you for procreation. They also found that in female humans that are more sexually active when their testosterone levels are actually high. Research was done on women who had an ovary removed and their testosterone levels actually dropped. What they found was when they have a low level of testosterone in their body, they have low levels of sexual activity. When their testosterone levels were higher and they were given a replacement therapy of testosterone, they actually had higher levels of sexual activity. So estrogen levels are high, can signal sexual activities, and when their testosterone levels are higher, not high, it can also signal sexual activity. So kind of comparing hunger and sex here. They're both, hunger and sex are different sorts of motivation. Hunger responds to a need. If we don't eat, we actually will die. If we don't drink water, we will die. In that sense, sex is not necessarily a need because we don't always need it to survive. We're not going to die if we don't have it. However, it could create some tension in the body. Both, however, are impacted by internal and external factors in life. And we've talked a lot about how hunger can be triggered by external factors. Same with sex. Okay. We've talked a lot about, this is a good chart. We've talked a lot about the biology of what can impact one to want to have sex for the biological ways. Psychological and social are also reasons why individuals want to procreate. And so we'll talk a little bit about each of these, but I would copy this chart down. So external stimuli. Environmental stimuli can also influence sexual motivation of an individual. It is common knowledge that men become sexually aroused when browsing erotic material. However, women also experience heightened condition when researched as well. Overexposure, however, to this material, a person's satisfaction with their partner can actually start to decline. When viewing X-rated films, it can diminish a person's satisfaction with their partner, and their expectations of what their partner can do changes. After viewing attractive women and men on TV, people also begin to judge their partners as less attractive. So there could be a negative impact to the external environment. Also, cognitive images in the brain can influence one's arousal state. The stimulus inside our head, the brain, creates an image that can influence our arousal or desire. 95% of people surveyed actually reported having sexual fantasies, so these thoughts that occur in their head. Men were higher in the percentage than females. However, both were pretty